All right, all the members of the court are back, and we're gonna continue through the budget workshop. We're on item number 4E, Commissioners Court. Before we go too far into this, Ms. McWilliams is here and has alerted me she needs to talk to the court about the line item 123, banking services.
I'm sorry, and thank you for working me in. It's pretty busy today. The line item for banking services, that's where we order our checks and Micker cartridges. I got a printout this morning, and we had budgeted $1,600. So far this year, we've spent $843.96, so I'm holding okay on that. The issue that I need to discuss is banking service charges, so I'm not sure whether we want to increase this banking services or put a separate line item for any charges that we may incur with our banking. You know, our contract ended April 23rd. We awarded it to Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo was able to have all our new accounts open and ready by June 1st. We had a stipulation in our contract with Compass of 60 days to finish our accounts and clean up. Well, the math will tell you that if we got our new ones open on June 1st, 23 days was not enough time to get everything changed over. We cleaned them up as fast as we could. I sent an email yesterday to ask him to close the general checking account at Compass. That's the last account we had any activity in. We had some difficulties getting the e-file direct deposited into the new account. And with the date of July 1st as the mandated date of that we had to accept e-file, we went ahead and left it open, just trying to get all that. Both offices were working with me as hard as we could to get everything redirected. And saying that, in our first analysis from Compass for the 7 days in June that were not under contract, they charged us $504 in banking services. So then we'll have July. I've contacted, there are about 7 or 8 accounts that are not closed, and those accounts, everybody's working as hard as they can to close the ones they can. So we'll have a few more charges on banking services with Compass. And I realize that'll be this year's budget, but I just wanted to let y'all know where we stand.
And
And
based on what you
speaking
told me
to
earlier,
Josh,
you don't
yeah.
sound like you have those accounts won't be closed by the end of July, so we're gonna have all these charges.
All of my accounts are closed by July. I've contacted everyone. The county attorney has a restitution account. She's gonna try to have closed by the end of July. District attorney has 3 accounts.
We don't have to go through all of them. Do you
Right.
anticipate that all will be closed
Everybody
by the end of July?
I've asked repeatedly. But now Dana has an account that is registry of the court that she's not at liberty just to up and close. So I've given her our contact person with the bank, his name and phone number, so maybe she can get with him one-on-one and see if that can be restructured somehow, or
Okay.
we can get all that cleaned up.
And I think the county clerk probably has the same
Yeah,
type of
issue.
account. Okay.
Those registry of the court accounts are just a little bit different kind of accounts.
Okay.
In speaking and getting all this and speaking with Josh from Wells Fargo, I touched base with him yesterday and said, okay, now we started with you June 1st. Your analysis, how are you going to work on analysis and balances and all that? And he told me, well, since we started June 1st, that he goes by the calendar year. Well, as you all know, our peak money is in January, February, March. And then they take an average of the year. Well, we're not going to have that this first year. Whenever we first talked about it, he said as long as we maintained a balance of about $8 million, that should offset any charges that the bank would have on our accounts. Starting from June to December, that's when our money is going to continually decline. And right now, we may have right at $9 million. I haven't had a chance to look this morning. Yesterday it was high 8s, close to 9. So I know that as we go through these next few months, we're going to drop below that. The option I have is We left 3.5 million at tax pool. We can bring part of that tax pool money over in this first year to maintain that $8 million balance and then put it back to offset our charges. Or we need to budget for charges. And I asked him, you know, give me a ballpark figure, worst case scenario, in these next 7 months, if we don't maintain that 8 million, what would our charges be? And he said he felt comfortable in $5,000, so,
I think we need to ask him to revisit that,
okay,
we don't have 12 months of business within this year for them to average I guess they're averaging our deposits over a 12-month period, is that what you're saying?
they're
We
averaging
don't have
our
12 months of
activity.
business for
Yeah.
them to do that, so I would like to ask them to reevaluate that, and
Okay.
that, we've signed a 2-year contract with them.
Mhm.
We're gonna be with them for 2 years, and they need to relook at that.
Okay,
When I remember in the committee meeting, he assured us we would not be
Right.
getting any fees.
okay.
And I'd like to hold his feet to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say $5,000 is a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to go without addressing it and us knowing where we
I mean,
stood on it.
You're
and
talking
whatnot.
about that we'll drop below 8, but it shouldn't drop below 5.
Didn't he, Angela? I mean, he didn't leave any door open
Mhm.
that we would be paying anything this year, right?
I agree, and I agree with what her first option was. We can move money out of tax pool to maintain that
Right.
8 million, because you're not collecting enough interest in tax pool to offset a $5,000.
Yeah, but
Fee.
I think
But,
you'd have to put that on the agenda.
Well, we just
right?
move it back.
Yeah, I can move it back as soon as our, you know, we just left that money in there as a reserve, not in the, we're not saying that's the contingency,
Right.
I'm not,
Just
I
as
meant,
reserve.
but we wanted to have, I think it was 2.5 months
We
or
didn't
2
put all of our
months.
eggs in
or-
one basket.
Right,
That's what
there
we
you
did.
go.
But now,
And-
in the future, what are our tax collections now? 15 million or something?
Yes, sir.
And it's, you're gonna be, if you keep money in tax pool, say 3 million in tax pool, that's about what our contingency.
Right,
Plus,
right, we
okay.
left 3.5.
But if you keep, that's gonna be nip and tuck for an $8 million average.
Yeah,
If you start out with 15,
Well, over the 12 months, they take
Yeah.
the full 12 months, so
yeah,
they looked at it and told us we shouldn't have any problem with that.
okay,
But now they're saying, well, you didn't start till June the 1st, so you are gonna have a
Well,
problem your first
well,
year.
they
And
know that.
I think
Prorated
they
for
need
6
to, I
months,
think
yeah.
they need to.
And they took the worst 6 months of the year.
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And he knew that in our committee meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
they knew that up front.
okay. All right, I'll get back with him and visit with him and remind him of that and, see what I can get done.
Now, while we're talking, would that have to be an agenda item on a court to move any of that, or?
On your tax pool?
Yeah.
I wouldn't think so.
No,
Don't
I
you have the
think she'd have-
flexibility of
Okay, yeah,
moving?
okay.
As long as everybody's in agreement.
As long as it's always backed up.
Uh-huh, yes, okay,
But we do need to know something by next week,
okay.
because we only have the 16,
Well,
how much,
I
1,600
think
in
if,
that
as
line
long
item.
as I maintain that $8 million balance and can pull, if it's okay, you know, to pull out of that to make it to the end of the year, we should make it, and he should be
I
able
think
to.
it's okay, but I still don't think we should move all of it.
Right,
I would
Only-
be okay with, maybe half of it.
okay.
I mean, I don't, what's the court's
And
thoughts on that?
I think to maintain your 8 million.
I watch it every day, and in this 8 million, now that includes every account that Hardin County has, so, you know, I'm also in that 8 million, I can include the money Shirley
Grants and all
has,
that
and,
stuff.
yeah, I can include everything, so I'll only go into the tax pool if I need to.
But based upon the understanding of the court when we went into this thing,
Okay.
I don't think the 8 million should apply for this last 6 months of the year.
Okay.
Right.
Well, he told me he would prorate, you know, he would,
Well, tell him that we said that we're going
discount
half
the
the year, so do
fees.
4 million,
okay.
half
Yeah,
the amount.
yeah, that's
He would
reasonable.
that he would discount the fees, cause the analyses are running like 5,000 a month, and that's what they were running with, Compass, so.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
All right, now we are in the, item E, Commissioners Court budget. I prepared this last night and I also plugged in the previous, 3 years of history.
Well, if I calculated right, you reduced that budget by $162,778.
Yes, sir.
Did a good job, Judge.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions on any particular line items?
No, but if I do, can I call you?
Yes, sir. That'd be fine. Angela, have you looked over that very well yet and make sure that I didn't,
This one, no, sir.
I wanna make sure that I haven't, cut anything that I shouldn't have, based on the, cause I just went off of the history and what I thought we had coming up. But there may be some expenses coming up in some of these line items that I'm not aware of.
Okay.
Judge, is that where the contingency money that was set aside for professional fees for my office, is that?
There is a line item for professional fees in here.
Okay, it still is.
Yeah, we zeroed that out.
Yes, ma'am. No, I don't think I did I? Budgeted a little less. Last year was 8,100 and I budgeted 5,000 based on the last 3 years of expenditures.
Yeah,
That
I think
sound
that's
good to you?
It's kind of slow right now with all the stuff going on the subdivisions,
Yeah, I think that's good.
so it's another year.
Okay. The, there was a line item in the sheriff's budget that we moved into this budget. It's line item 424 and I renamed it to Regional Radio System. So when we had his budget workshop, the other day, we discussed transferring that into here and I did.
Do we get a grant from, regional planning?
No, sir, but we did, if you'll remember, we got the port security grant, which allowed us to build the tower in Sour Lake,
That's
and it
what I
also pays some of the maintenance for the next 2 years on the
That's
whole
what I'm
system.
thinking.
Yes, sir. I'd like to address the land purchase line item 500. We had included the land purchase on the land that we purchased over across the street for the new annex building. There's some more land over there that we need to look at purchasing next year, so I added a $20,000 to that. And I wanted to bring that to the court's attention. May not happen, but in case it does, I wanted to make sure we were budgeted for it.
That's good.
There are some expenses in here, Angela, for, retirement, workers' comp insurance, and unemployment, such as that. I know each department has those line items. I'm just wondering what's coming out of here, because there's no salaries coming out of this budget.
That's what I had circled those as well to see,
Okay.
to research it.
And one thing I want to be sure and bring to your attention is there was a line item in here to pay for the county's match or the county's portion of the health department. But now that they have a budget have their own budget under the 010 account, I took it out of this commissioner's court budget. That offset, in this budget anyway, that offset the money that we plugged in from the radio system. So there's still an overall cut, what you mentioned earlier, the 162, or 160 probably.
I see on the, line item 343,
Yes, sir.
you zeroed that out. Any reason for that, Judge?
We haven't spent anything in the past 3 years, nor this year. So
Well, they should, they should be sending us a bill each year. I'd like to leave it in, that's only fire protection the people in big ticket retreat and outlaw bin have,
okay,
because the, Ticket Votaw Fire Department will not go to that subdivision.
okay. We'll add that back in.
And those people, what it is, they changed personnel up there and,
What I did, I saw that we were paying some other fire departments over the years, but slowly those have all gone to zero, and I just assumed that one did
The
too.
rest of them have gone to emergency service districts.
Yes, sir.
This is a volunteer one, it's about 4 miles away, it's the only fire protection they have.
Okay.
I
Well,
need to
agree.
try to get in touch with somebody, they change people and they forget to, send us a bill, and we,
Well, that means they're operating okay.
well, they bring new people in and we know they have a contract,
Yes, sir.
but that's the only fire protection they have, I think.
And I just was under the assumption on these, library payments, that's something we've agreed to do with each of the cities.
We've agreed to, and they bill us every once in a while,
Yes,
when I'm
sir.
will
I get 'em.
forget, and,
They hadn't this year. We got them all already.
but I'll try to get in touch with whoever's at that fire department and,
Okay.
tell them to send us a bill.
Is that both, one, the Wildwood and the Woodpecker Fire, both of them need to be added back in?
No, Wildwood doesn't, because they've gone to an emergency services district.
So that can be removed, okay.
Correct? Okay. I don't wanna say correct, you agree? All right.
Mr. Phillips, I think I have the fireman from, Outlaw Ben's, phone number.
Would you call him and tell him, you know, they need to send us a bill?
She was just gonna give you the phone number.
I was smarter than that, Judge.
No, I'll call him.
Yeah, call him. Because they,
That's really hard.
you know, they're not used to billing people, but
Dues and subscriptions, what comes out of there, do you know?
No, not,
It pays for our,
county progress,
all the associations that the commissioners are in, it comes out of that.
North and East
Yeah.
Texas.
Yeah, COGS, or,
Well, the COG's got its own,
Yeah.
I saw it,
You saw I had to increase that.
yeah.
North and East Texas comes
Yeah, they
out.
all went up on all of it.
Did I increase it enough?
Think
Cause I
so.
just based it off what was spent this year.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll double check with Sean today, but I believe so.
Debbie, on the insurance, general liability and property, is that gonna be increased any, do you know?
We, just paid for our, property. That's, now I haven't heard anything new on the, auto.
Do you know if that, Angela, is that reflected in this 200,000? The payment she's talking about for property, was it within the past 2
Property
weeks?
was, 79,500.
Oh, I hope it's in there.
We paid that. The, auto is going to be, is around 200,000, I believe. That's what it
Well,
was
that
last
must be
year.
another line item somewhere. Yeah, this line item is general, law, liability, and property. And we've got 225, and we've spent 200 as of July 22nd. So that should include that 79, wouldn't?
Mhm.
Where does the auto come out of? I think it's in this one.
I think it'd have to come out of that.
Think it's in that same line item?
I can, find out for you.
Okay,
Just
thank
one
you,
second.
thanks. If so, she's talking about there's another 200 coming up. That can't be right.
Mm-mm. When does it renew, you remember?
I thought it all renewed at the same time, but it doesn't sound like it does. comments?
No, sir, there's just some things I have to research, but
Well, main thing is, do you see anything that I've cut it short on?
I don't know about the auto theft grant.
'Cause that's gonna-
It was at 24.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Reduced it to 5. Is that our county match now? At 5? Or were you just basing it on?
I was
what
basing it on the amount that we spent so far this year.
Everything may not be coded there yet,
Okay.
so I have a question about that one. And the
I was
unemployment
assuming it had gone
insurance.
down because of the personnel change,
Okay, maybe.
so
I'll
it's
check
not
that.
always good to assume though.
I
Some
will
of
check
us
that.
worth more than others.
I don't know about worth, but they were paid more.
And the unemployment insurance that you mentioned, I need to check on that one. And I realize your health department matching was removed, but it was put somewhere else, so it's still a liability for the county.
Right.
So that's not really a savings.
Well, it should be, right? Cause your 70 figure that you gave us today includes the health department budget, right?
It was not, no, it does not include the health department budget.
So when you say we've made 70,000 in cuts, you haven't taken into consideration the ads?
No, cause it's usually in this budget that you would do here today.
Well, like
The
we added
county
to
match.
we added to the constables, that's not in
Oh,
consideration.
yes, the constables are in there, and none of your grants are in here, and none of your matching of your grants is in here, because it's usually in your commissioner's court budget.
But we've
which is
done the health
presented
department
today.
budget, so that should be included,
Yeah,
right?
that's not included in here, no, cause it's usually included in this one, but like you said, this year we pulled it out into a separate fund, but it's not included in this one. No, it's not there. None of your grants are in your matchings or on this, but your constables and your JPs and all the other county departments are here.
Debbie, did you see?
Yes, I have the information.
Okay.
Okay, our property coverage, which goes from July 1 of 15 to July 1 of 16, was paid in May 1st of this year. It was $79,500, and it came up account 101401482, which is that insurance general law liability.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, also, I stand corrected on the automobile liability coverage. It was $110,516. It was paid on January the 2nd of 2015. It came out of that same fund.
Okay.
10401,482.
All right. So we're done with insurance until next year.
Yes, next year.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Hopefully it'll go down.
It's gonna go up.
It'll go up.
There was some items that we caught this year that were not covered, so we added them, and I guess they'll catch us on that next year.
Yes.
If we build an annex.
And then we're gonna be building a new building, but this other one, well, we'll still have this other one that we'll just have to reduce the coverage on the contents, but we'll still have to cover the building. We wanna be sure it's covered in case something happens to it.
Right. Are you looking forward to retirement?
I mean,
You got some trips planned yet?
not really,
Yeah.
not yet.
Right.
I'm gonna stay home with my fur babies.
Come on.
Are you looking for this budget in there? Okay.
I'm just waiting on you.
Oh, I was waiting on you. I thought you were looking.
You need a motion to adjourn?
No, we're not that far yet. All right, so
That's good.
there's no other questions or comments on the Commissioner's Court budget?
No, sir.
We'll move on to item F, the Historical Commission, Historical Commission.
Okay, Jimmy, has contacted me, and there's only one item in there. That's on 107 historical markers. He says the state has gone up on the price of those, and, he now needs $3,000 in that line item. And I told him that on Ghost Road, I don't know where it's listed in here, but it's in here somewhere. It says 10,000 for maintenance of Ghost Road Park, that 8-mile road, and we can take 1,500 out of it.
All right, so it's now item 457. Historical markers will increase it by 1,500 to 3,000.
To 3,000. He said that's the only change that he can.
And then where is, Ghost Road's not in this budget?
It's not in that budget, but it's in here somewhere.
His,
What
he hasn't,
page do you?
he hasn't spent much, Commissioner, out of his supplies. I wonder if we could take the 1,500 out of there.
How much has he spent?
That was through March.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. I'd rather leave him take it out of Ghost Road.
It
It's
just means
in
we gotta
parks.
find it. It's
It's
in the
under
parks.
county park expenditures,
What
All right.
page?
Page,
Here you go. It's
34.
the next one we'll go over here in a minute.
page
Oh, okay.
34
Okay.
in the budget.
So, line item 335 in that budget, which is budget number 010660, we'll reduce it to 8,500.
Yeah, there you go.
It's on page 34 in your budget.
So the only change to the historical commission is line item 457, increased by 1,500. Any further discussion? And we'll move on to this real big one here, county judge budget. There was a line item in here for court reporter for $1,000 that I removed, or I reduced to zero, because in the next budget, the county jury budget, I increased that, there's a line item in there for a court reporter as well. And I thought it'd be a lot easier just to have it in one place, so I've got it in this line item, and I wanna make sure with Angela that's okay. But then I've got it in this account, and I budgeted $12,000 for that. It's line item, 418. Called visiting court reporter, and all of our, anytime we have a court reporter in county court, it's a contract person. So it's always visiting. I think I've talked to some of the commissioners about this. We have been bringing in a court reporter for all of our jury trials. And, we have 3 jury trials a month. And, that expense actually probably runs a little over $1,000 a month, but there's at least one every now and then that gets canceled, so a 12,000 will be okay for that line item. If I'm not mistaken, that's the only item that I actually reduced out of my budget. There was some money that I moved around, but the bottom line only reduced by about 1,000. In fact, it's 900 and something dollars. The line item for the travel allowance, there's a travel allowance in here for $25.50. I reduced that to zero. Angela explained to me that's for travel, anytime that I travel outside the county. I reduced that to zero. I can cover that under the salary, and then there's a vehicle allowance included in my salary as well for travel inside the county, so, that'll cover any travel outside the county.
Is that the 226?
It's the $630 a month. If you look at the very bottom, there's a car allowance of $630 a month.
Right,
That's included in the salary,
right.
and,
But this is the one you're cutting out.
yes, sir, the 226 is zero. Bless you. Even though I added the $12,000 into the county jury budget, I know I'm bouncing around. Is there any questions about the county judge budget? In the county jury budget, even though I added the 12,000, I reduced other line items, as much as I could, so that increase is not a full 12,000, I don't believe, is it? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Never mind. But I did try to make each of these line items what they should be. As you can see, our pauper expenses, when you look at this budget and the two district court budgets, is our
Big ones.
big ones, yes, sir. Any questions on the county jury budget? Got anything, Commissioner Cooper? Then, we'll move forward to item G, item H, the county park budget. We've already addressed one line item on here, the supplies for Ghost Road, we reduced it to 8,500. I don't know of any other adds or subtractions on that in this budget. Does any of the commissioners?
My only thing is, I know it was taken completely out, the park in Lumberton was taken out of the budget last year. We're maintaining it, we have to by law, we're under contract to do it. I can continue doing it with my guys the way we're doing it, and, just if I have to do something within the park, I don't know, I guess I can take it out of my materials and supplies,
I don't believe you can.
Can't?
No, but the deal is, I wouldn't. I mean, you've given up so much.
I don't think you can commingle road and bridge funds with county park funds. What, and I lost track of that, what disposition do we ever do with the park over?
It's ours.
I mean, what do we do with it?
What do you mean, how we maintain it?
Well, I know that, Rebecca and Bobby were working on, do y'all remember, on some type deal to dispose of it or something?
We can't. That was what the determination was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was one lot that's on the, left-hand side of the
We
road
sold
going
it.
in that we sold,
We
we
sold
were able
it,
to sell, but the
yeah.
whole park, could not be.
We have to maintain it. We're required to maintain it.
It
Are
was
you-
deeded to the county as a park, is that right?
The judge asked you.
It's deeded to the county as a park?
Yes.
Oh, I remember that battle, but, it can't be deeded back to that same people?
We took their money. We took their $80,000.
Well, that was a park grant. That was a, Texas Parks and Wildlife grant.
Right. It was actually some sort of contract they put together.
I didn't know that you could bind the county in perpetuity
I don't
on
know.
something like that.
All I know is we gotta take care of it.
Yeah, as long as we have it.
I think in the papers it says that it has to remain a park. I don't remember reading anything on it that you couldn't give it back to them.
Weren't we looking for some nonprofit or something like that would take it over? Like the soccer league
Well,
or
they
something?
took, Hardin
the
County
soccer
took it
club.
over.
Yeah. They already put in money.
Hardin County was the nonprofit that took it over from the city, I
Right,
guess.
but from us, can't another nonprofit take it over?
Well,
That's
I
all
would-
want to address is.
It has to be a governmental agency.
There has to be a way it can be given back to the landowner. It's probably got a clause in there that if you ever cease to operate as a park, it doesn't.
We got it from Lumberton Mud, is that right?
Yeah, it came from Lumberton Mud to
Probably
us.
don't want it back either.
No, they don't want it back.
What
Well,
city
that,
Lumberton?
well, no, what happened was, it was between $70,000 and $80,000 that was sitting there. And the reason Hardin County took it was to get that $70,000 to $80,000, honestly. And,
Well, there was another reason besides that, but that's, water on the bridge.
that was way before you even were in court.
No, I was on the court.
Were you on the court?
I was on the court. Well, I was on the court when we, I guess, I come on the court when we'd taken it from Lumberton Mud.
In '93 or '94.
94, something like that. I'd
Right.
come on the court and they were deciding what to do with it. And, but anyway,
But we still have to, we have to do maintenance on the
yeah,
park.
we have it, but I still think we need to investigate giving it back to the property owners.
I think they did. I'm pretty sure they did all that already.
I know they looked at selling it.
Can't sell it.
You can't sell it.
What are they doing out there?
Rebecca was available.
Soccer?
Well, half of the biggest, it's soccer, which they give, how much do y'all give? Go
But
ahead.
I'd like to say that, other than the club, that park is used a lot by the public.
It is.
I mean, we have, people call me all the time and say, hey, can I reserve the churches that come out there, we have school groups.
Y'all paying the
come
electrical?
out.
Who pays electrical?
We pay $1,800 a year to cover the electricity and the water on the concession stand,
That's the soccer club,
yes.
right?
Yeah, the soccer
And
club makes.
We maintain way more than our share. I think Alvin can speak for that.
Yeah, they maintain all the fields and stuff. That's, but, see, we're mowing and one side of the park they take care of. I take care of the tennis courts, the basketball courts, the pavilions, that part of the park. Actually, Bobby's crew built the concession stand in there.
So monetarily, extra, you're going out and opening the gates. Bobby wasn't.
We open and close the gates,
Other than that,
and maintenance, mowing
I
and stuff.
maintain some
Yeah.
of the airport, and we have
Right.
airport contracts, so we're even there.
Right.
My guys don't go open the gate, so really, the only thing that y'all are doing that Bobby wasn't is opening the gates.
Right, and we open it in the mornings, it's opened by one of my crew. In the evenings, I close it. I close the gate every evening, just about. Yeah, that's pretty much it, other than,
So,
any little
Are
maintenance.
you asking for anything?
I was just saying, I know it was all the money was cut out of it.
But you have 5,000, right? Isn't that yours?
Yeah, you got 5,000.
5,000 for supplies. We supply the toilet paper and the stuff in the bathrooms, and we keep the concession stand in running operation, because that does belong to the county.
So you want to cut that to 3,000?
No.
I just thought I'd ask.
Well, Bobby was the one that initiated getting rid of the park.
But they found out they couldn't, is what I understand.
If we're going to maintain it, then there needs to be adequate funds in this park budget, and them not come out of road and bridge is all I've maintained.
Correct.
Because I don't think legally you can take road and bridge funds and maintain a county park. A county can maintain a park, it just has to have its own budget.
So could we rename that to maintenance plus supplies?
Whatever he needs,
And that way, if he has to buy gas for his mower out of that budget,
That's what we do.
or whatever, or get your lawnmower repaired out of that
Yeah.
budget.
But you haven't spent anything that there's probably funds there to spend. They just need to be coded to that line item.
But you don't have to spend them.
No, you don't have to spend them, you just have to code them there if you do spend them.
Right. Yes.
Okay, just.
Judge, I would just like to say that you are keeping a lot of kids off the street, because if you go out every evening, not including soccer, there are kids that have graduated, from the area, and they all get together and play basketball every day, and then there's a group that comes out on their own and plays soccer. So you are keeping, a lot of kids from probably getting, otherwise they'd be getting into,
Yeah.
I'm afraid, but.
I know used to late at night, it was a place to congregate, and probably, and do things that they shouldn't, and you closing the gate is keeping that from happening.
Has stopped that from happening. But I don't know what
Being
Dan was
used to
saying,
good.
and I've witnessed this, just having become a part of it. The park is used unbelievably. The pavilions on the weekends are used for birthday parties, and I've even seen a couple of weddings out there. I don't know if, since Missy's been judge, if she's done any weddings out there, or did back when she was doing them. But I've seen weddings out there. I've seen, like I said, the birthday parties, and there was some reunion of some sort out there a couple of weekends ago, and they asked me if they could stay there an extra hour, and I allowed them to do that. But it's used. It is totally used. I can tell y'all, when I was running for this office, that one of the things that I was approached by several people living within Lumberton or even outside of Lumberton was, what are you going to do with the park? Are you going to start helping them with the park? Is the park going to be taken care of? I know that they're destroying the park. They're tearing up the buildings, blah, blah, blah. And this was basically what you said. The park wasn't being secured at night, on weekends or whatever, and it was being torn up. So I know that it was an object of interest when I was running for election. I don't mind closing the park gate at night. I go over there and do it. But it was part of, my guys were alternating doing it every week when Bobby was commissioner, and he took that out, so.
Well, I don't think the court's ever questioned the benefit of the park. Bobby questioned, I guess, as a commissioner wanting to do the
Let it be
work.
somebody else's interest
Yeah.
instead of the county.
And I questioned
I think Rebecca said.
the use of road and bridge funds for a park activity.
Right.
So, I mean, it's,
All right, anything further on the county park budget? All right, we'll move on to item I, other departments as necessary. I have some, other worksheets here printed out, just a couple. First one is the Child Protective Services budget. Earlier I mentioned that there was some funds that I'd cut out of another budget to cover the, court reporter and the county jury budget, and this is where I did that at. So,
That's all right.
I have run this by, the county attorney, and she agrees that this is adequate. And the assistant county attorney, Ms. Brister, also looked at it as well.
so there's a savings there of $15,600.
Yes, sir. But then we added 12,000 to the county jury budget, so it's really not 15.
It just was moved.
Okay.
It's really a couple thousand.
Okay.
We have the law library budget. Would you like to address that, Ms. Kiefer?
Can you approach the podium? I can't hear you.
I'm fine here. We're gonna leave it the same.
Right, that's what I thought. We want to be sure.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any
Can you
questions?
believe she said one time when she come in here, Commissioner Kirkendall,
What's that?
that the two commissioners that she feared the most was me and you? What? Yeah, we're the nicest ones on the court.
Oh, I have to disagree with that. All right, no questions or comments about law library? We have the court security fees. You'll see this is all salaries and fringes. This pays for the bailiff in 88th Court. Now, Judge Stover, when he and I met and discussed things yesterday, he did express an interest in moving this position into his budget at some point in time, but stated that he knew that it was probably not a good time to try to do that now due to the crisis, budget crisis that we have. And I agree with him on that, and I appreciate his willingness to continue to leave it budgeted like it is until we can maybe address it at some point in time in the future. I am correct about, that is where the bailiff's paid from?
That's correct.
Okay. And last but not least, we have the Justice Court Technology Fund. And this pays for the software in each of the JPs. There's not enough that comes into this fund. This fund has money that comes into it,
That's
correct?
correct. The JPs collect a
And that's
fee.
on citations and everything that goes through the JP's offices, which I'd like to just make a comment is way down over the past few years. You know, the highway patrol's being sent to the border weekly, and that's something that I've talked to other county judges about, and I see it on our listserv that comes up, is how much statewide that's a really big issue. They're not working near as much traffic as they used to, and so our JP courts are way down. So anyway, that's part of the reason this fund does not actually cover all of the expenses for the software. But we are, I guess, Judge Minton had addressed us earlier about moving that line item into her budget, and I think that's probably a good idea. That'll take $2,700 out of this budget that will not be expensed out of here in the future if we do that. Yes, ma'am.
Personnel, so I wanted to make y'all aware of it.
I'm sorry.
Had a change in personnel,
Yes, ma'am.
and so I wanted to, bring the new figures to you, is that okay?
Yes, ma'am, that'd be fine.
I apologize for last minute, but didn't want your numbers to be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We need a bigger,
Yeah.
there we go.
I don't think that's-
Well,
I lost an employee to the county attorney's office, So, it changed the, proposed budget a bit, and you'll see that, I have changed the figure on the 2016 budget for salaries. Previously was, I believe, 237, and now we're down to 236, 722.14. Also, hit a little snafu with my copier, and I had deducted, I believe, let's see, I had dropped equipment rentals down to, I believe, 2,200, but the bid that I have so far for upgrading the copier to where it will work with all of our scanners and printers, I would need to put it at 2,700,
Okay,
which is still below last year's budget.
yes, ma'am. That's the only item that's changed, is that item in the salaries?
Yes, sir.
And so the salary line item, that it went down some from your original proposed budget?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
right? And how much was that? I know, I'm sorry, I know you
That's
said.
okay, I have it here somewhere. Let's see. Thought I left with it. Okay, here we go. Where it says deputy dash T, by the third deputy.
Yes, ma'am.
The request was for a step-up raise previously, which I know, y'all told me doesn't exist, but I wanted to correct the figures. So that would, change to the same as Deputy S. It's that same figure. So it changes it by about, I believe,
The third one down says Deputy B. Were you talking about, it's not
okay,
Chief
next
Deputy,
one, fourth one.
Deputy K.
Okay, it is K now, it was
Okay.
T,
Gotcha.
and, I had requested a raise for
Okay.
that employee, but that's the one that moved to the county attorney's office.
All right,
And so the new employee's at the, beginning rate.
okay. I've done some checking. I know we had a big discussion previously about the steps and that we don't do that anymore and that we've suspended it or gotten rid of it. But I've done some checking and Rose, I know, is retired, but I talked to Debbie about it as well. We do still use that step scale when we're hiring people in and whenever people are getting an annual raise. I know that, I talked to Commissioner Cooper about it and Commissioner Kirkendall, they've used it. You expressed it earlier in your, proposed budget. Yes, sir. Earlier in the budget workshops, let me start over with what I'm about to say here. The very first budget workshop, I said I thought we should wait and address salaries until we had our appraised, certified appraisals, and we have those now. So I think that we should start, we've got to talk about salaries, because she's got to have that information when she goes to, prepare the proposed budget. Whenever the county clerk's office submitted their proposed budget, it was brought to our attention that there's a few people in their department, and Shirley, I believe, brought it to our attention as well. There's people in both of those departments that have been here for a number of years, between 8 and 12 years, that are still on what would be classified as step 0 or base pay. They both asked, and I think that we should at least consider addressing those issues. We have people that have been here for a decade or more, or maybe just a few years less, that are still on base pay, while other departments and other employees are getting their longevity pay, is what I would call it, a step pay. And I think we should address those. So I did ask for Ms. Austin and Mrs. Stevens, and we do have it from Mrs. Hogg already in her proposed budget and in her new proposed budget that she submitted today. What employees that have been here for a number of years that need to be reclassified or stepped up. So I've got those here. I guess I made myself a copy, but there you go. Pass those out to y'all. And that's what was submitted to us and what I would like for us to do. Thank you. is to, look over these and let's discuss it and consider it. And let's also discuss, salaries for all of the departments as well. Let's see how everybody feels about salaries for
Thank you.
countywide.
That's, you get two.
Is that an extra one?
Mhm. Do you need it?
Thank
You
you.
need
Yes,
one?
ma'am.
Everybody has one?
Everybody have one?
Thank you. So, what we have is the, list of employees in the tax office, their employment date, the step that they're currently at, and the requested step from Ms. Stevens. And then we also have the same from the county clerk's office from Ms. Austin. And then the last page is a few other employees. I had also asked Rose to do some research for me and find out if there are any others that have been left behind. She indicated there are two people in the, two custodians that have been left behind, one employee in the indigent healthcare department. And then I wrote down two employees in the auditor's office that I think we ought to talk about as well.
So we wanna take this by department or just overall? And
Well-
leave it to,
I think what we ought to
you and
do
the
is
department head?
let's take some time maybe and look over this. I've looked over what Ms. Stevens provided, and I also asked Rose to look at it with me as well. And, we did not see or identify any type of discrepancies. You'll see that, Ms. Moss has been marked out. She retired, since this, was, or about the time you prepared this, I guess she announced she was retiring.
Why don't we, unless any other commissioners wanna individually tear this apart, why don't we let Angela submit all these requests and get us a number as far as what it's gonna increase the budget? Unless somebody sees something that just jumps out to them, they don't want to.
Well, there are two people in the, county clerk's office, trying to remember which two there are, but there are two brand-new people that, and I know Glenda's not here, but, she had asked to bump them up to a step one, and I do disagree with that. They just were hired in the last few months, and they should stay at zero until.
That's
they've
Amy
had some
Jenkins
time.
and Kim Keith.
Yes, ma'am,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I
But
guess-
everything else that was submitted, I agree with.
I guess my only thought, Judge, would be is that, you know, if this is what we're going to do, then I think all departments ought to have an opportunity to look back at their employees and see if they have someone that came on and, at a step and has not been bumped up.
Well, based on what I'm told from Rose, that everybody, these are the people that's been left behind. Everybody else is where they're supposed to be.
And she's looked at every department.
She's told me that she
Okay.
reviewed every one of them. And I could ask Debbie to do the same,
No,
just to
no,
make sure.
if she
Or I
has,
could just ask each department head to let me know if there's anybody in their department that they'd like to discuss.
well, if Rose has looked at it, I'm sure she's looked at it thoroughly, and that would be my only question, if, you know, we've covered everybody that was hired in and has never been bumped up. And that's what I understand we're talking about here, is that
Yes,
right? Yeah, okay. I have no problem with that.
With the exception of the two in the clerk's office that is, new, then the auditor can put these numbers in there and give us whatever increase it would be, or.
Yeah, Wednesday, I guess, when we come back.
Yeah, we haven't done any type of estimate as to how much dollars we're talking about.
Not for these new raises, but I
Not
did
yet,
do.
but I don't think it will be a whole lot.
I don't think you're talking about significant,
No, sir. And I definitely think that,
yeah,
it needs to be,
yeah,
I think it'd go a long
Address.
way.
sir.
See, I think it'd go a long way.
yeah, yeah.
I always thought it was being done, so.
What about, what is the consensus of the court other than this package here that I presented to y'all as far as, salary adjustments?
I agree with longevity pay.
I have looked at the CPI, and I think it's right at, the government's calculating it at around 2-something. What you have to keep in mind about the CPI is that when Obama came in, they dropped energy and food out of the CPI calculation. And so, you know, energy's gone down, but energy had gone up, and all the time that energy's up, there was times that if food and energy had been in the CPI calculation, then the CPI would have been over 5%, when the government was reporting it down at 2 something and never above 3, I don't believe. And so, you know, we have tried to keep our employees up with the 3% raises, and which did not actually meet inflation, but it was certainly better than, you know, not addressing it at all. And my thoughts would be like this year, that food prices, I believe, have gone up. So what the true CPI is, I don't know. But I think any less than 2% would certainly, what the official rate is certainly not treating our employees the way that we should. I would go 3, but minimum of 2.
I would, I think every employee deserves a raise.
I agree with that.
I don't think we should cut budgets to give raises. And so if it's a matter of maintaining our budget or giving a raise, I'm in favor of maintaining our budget. We've heard the discussion on not even being able to fix roads, and I don't think, if it's a matter of one or the other, I'd love to do both. If it's a matter of one or the other, I'd rather maintain our budgets and forego a raise this year. But with the fact that I believe every employee deserves a raise.
I'll agree with that. I think they deserve a raise. There's no doubt about that. I think most everybody that works at Hardin County is underpaid. We have a lot of people here that could go to work in the banking industry or several other places they can go to work and make more money, and it's embarrassment. We simply don't have the money.
Right.
The only way to come up with more money is to reduce the number of staff, and that's not anybody that any department. That's not anything that any department head wants to do. But I think that it's something we're gonna have to definitely look a little harder at, especially the next time that we meet regarding budget workshops next year, if there's not a significant change in the revenue.
Absolutely.
I guess I may be kind of confused after listening to those two statements. What are we saying? We're either gonna if we give a raise, then it has to be offset with a budget cut?
Well, I think the only way to give a raise is we're gonna have to increase the tax rate even higher than the effective tax rate.
Well,
Cause if you look at it now, based on what we've gotten up to this very minute, the cuts that we made, they were wiped out this morning even before we went very far into budget workshops. And then the revenue decrease, plus we already have a revenue decrease from last year that we have not overcome, so.
That's a good point. You need to consider that you went into contingency last year, that $300-something thousand.
$391,000,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
And to balance the budget. So what was presented at $77,000 this year, that's just the loss in tax revenue only. It wasn't taking into consideration what it cost to balance the budget last year.
Right. And I know that I've had some individual discussions about that I've misled y'all because I thought that once you got the certified appraisals in and that $628,000 figure dropped to around 70, whatever, 77. I thought that was where we were. I thought our negative had gone to 77. Well, you've got to, I had to get her to dumb it down for me, is what I had to get her to do yesterday about 7 o'clock. And she explained to me why that's not the only negative that we have. We still have last year's negative. If we had the exact same budget this year, we have $77,000 less coming in.
The unfortunate thing is, in my opinion, there has to be a tightening of the belt at some point. We didn't do it last year. If we don't do it this year, when we gonna do it?
Well, I guess I see this thing a little bit different, and I've expressed this, I guess, every year at budget, because we've been in budget cutting. I think we approach it wrong to say that we're basically gonna balance the budget on the back of our employees. I think just like utilities go up, we have no choice. Just like insurance goes up, we're gonna pay it. I think that we need to decide what is fair for the employees. Many times I've had Rose to run a comparison between Jefferson County, Hardin County, and Orange County, which is the three counties in our shopping area, the three counties inside of our Regional Planning Commission. And our employees across the board make considerably less than those other two counties.
There's no doubt.
Now, I know you can use the analogy, well, if they wanna make that money, they have to go Jefferson County to work. I don't think that's the way to look at it.
That's not the way to look at it, but that's what happens.
I know that's what happens, but I think just like.
You just had one that left Hardin County, went to Jefferson County, didn't
Yeah,
you?
but just like other expenses that we have to deal with here, I think we need to plug into this budget what we feel is a fair amount, and I think 2%. If we don't give 2%, and I understand, that it has to be offset somewheres, but I had rather see budget cuts and the employees get 2% than to add that 200,000 or whatever it's gonna be into the budget and the employees not get a raise. I just think that long-term, we're not doing our employees justice to skip a raise totally.
Do you have the estimates, what it would cost? I'd ask Angela to put that together.
And in fairness, there's other counties around here that are cutting benefits and not giving raises to their employees.
We've already cut,
Right, well, we can't
we
cut,
can't cut.
but in
We can
fairness.
cut. We can cut.
You can always
We
cut.
just have a different of opinions on those cuts.
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll
We
give
added
you that one and
2
I'll
new
take that.
positions year before last, and
This is a very rough estimate, of what a 2% and 3%
okay, so
will give you.
I said 200,000, 2 cents would be 213,000.
Is that, you said it's rough, is
Mhm.
that a good number, or is it gonna be?
Well, I
low?
mean, it's just a really rough estimate. It doesn't have any of these that we just discussed, any of those rate increases in it. And I just went in the back of the budget that was presented last year and removed the travel allowances and removed the personnel that we have, like, for example, human resources, those personnel that will not be replaced. And so that's how this was based on.
I just think we have a lot of decisions to make, building the annex.
yeah, that had
If that
to,
happens to
been
go
brought up.
through, the fact of the budget adjustments, and
There's two people I forgot, I failed to bring up. It's, the purchasing agent, Misty Whitney, and, the soon-to-be Human Resources Director, Debbie. I call her Debbie M. I think that both of those positions should be at 41.
And that's already in their budget, right?
No, sir. It is in, it
It
is
was-
in the
it
Human
was,
Resources budget, but not in the purchasing
it was
budget.
Presented, yeah.
but we didn't include it in any numbers, and I agree with the judge, I think it should be up at 40.
I thought we'd already included it.
No, sir. But I think we should.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And the, two personnel in the auditor's office that I mentioned earlier, they are on the, sheet that I gave you earlier. I think that each of those, and this is just based on their time here and their duties, should receive a roughly, somewhere between $800 and $1,200 increase in their pay. So if we said 1,000, that would be a good average.
Yeah, well, that goes along with this here.
Yes, sir. If everybody agrees with that, we'll ask Angela to plug those figures in.
I agree.
I'm in agreement.
I do too.
All right. If we do a 2% raise, where do we get the roughly 220,000? Where do we get, do we just take it out of contingency again?
I'm against that. I think
And I
we-
am as well.
I think we have too much to look at that we have to accomplish.
regardless of where it comes from, I think last year, maybe the year before, she put the numbers in showing us where we would be at with both a 3% and a 2%. Can you do that?
I will update this budget and give
Yeah.
y'all a thing.
All right.
Yeah,
But we're not gonna have that till Wednesday.
right,
Till when?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Do, just based upon what you see, Angela, and Judge, and y'all have worked it very diligently, where do we stand right now on the budget, the shortfall?
Mr. Pelt, the 77,000 that we're in the negative, when the very first worksheet we got from Angela this morning showed us at a negative 77,000. That's roughly about how many cuts we had made before today. So that offset the loss in revenue from last year to this year. However, just in Committee Robert's budget, that we wiped that out. Plus, we had a few other increases today, so now we're back at
You had
negative
100.
100,000 before.
You had 162,000 cut.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So do we feel we're down 100,000? We shouldn't be down over $100,000.
Have you been kind of keeping a?
I am not comfortable in stating that until all these adjustments have been put into the budget. And then at that point, I can email you information before Wednesday, that from now till Monday.
You
I will
talking
try
about
to-
next Wednesday?
I will, from now till Commissioners Court on Monday, I will give you, some information then, by Monday.
Should we have a short special meeting before the Commissioners Court meeting on Monday? It's too late to post it now, it'd have to be Monday afternoon.
Yeah. I need to key in all this information that we got today and then calculate the salary increases that y'all have requested.
Okay, well, let's say it's $200,000.
And then you add another roughly 220. So that's four.
Okay, so that's $400,000. Okay, now here a few weeks ago, we thought it was down $650,000.
Yes, sir. I said all along, I thought we'd be around $500,000 at the end.
Okay, so we somewhere's in that neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, with that being said, how much, in order to meet that 400,000, would you be taking out of we got three options: tax increase, further budget cuts, or contingency.
Correct,
No other place for it to come from.
correct.
Right there, that's the only place. Okay. How much, to meet that, will have to come out of contingency? Let's just start with that figure first.
Well, do not forget the 391,000 that was taken out last year to balance the budget of contingency.
And it shouldn't be that much because that's based on everybody spending every dollar in their budget.
And that's something else that you need to look at. We need to look at the revenue versus expenditures to get you an amount on that as well.
Well, let's just make the assumption that, we're not gonna know that until September
Probably
the
November.
30th.
Or later,
And this budget has to be filed
next Friday.
next Friday, and it has to be voted on in
Proposed budget.
the
Right.
proposed budget. But what I'm saying is, we have to pass a budget and set a tax rate before the end of the year.
Yes, sir.
So whether there's any money left in there or not
And no, I'd have to-
Right.
is an unknown
We
at this
just
time.
need to assume the worst case scenario that everybody spends every dollar.
Yeah, that's what I say. I mean, that's,
But realistically, that should not happen.
yeah. Well, it may not happen, but if it does happen. And, so then, let's say we're $400,000 down at this point. How much, and we leave the tax rate the same, then how much would have to come out of contingency?
$400,000.
$400,000?
Where else would it come
Well,
from?
she's not committing it.
I am not committing.
Well,
I
her
do
and the
not
judge
want-
are the only two people can answer that.
That's the only place I can see it coming from.
Well, he's
Either that
asking
or
for
we
how
have to-
much to come
But
out.
that's how much?
Well,
He's
he's
not
saying
asking
based on-
where.
well, he's
I
saying based
agree.
on a what if,
Yeah.
what if
Everything,
400.
yeah.
But I'm saying, we took out of the contingency fund last year, are we balanced on the contingency fund? Or is there a hidden amount in there that's gotta come out in addition to this 400,000?
Lord, I hope not.
Well, I hope not either, but there's only one person that can probably answer that question.
Well, I mean, we've tried to be sure that there's nothing,
Okay.
nothing gonna,
Are you comfortable that there's no other to come out of the contingency?
I will be Monday or Wednesday, but not today.
But you're not even semi-confident today. Well, let's just say that that is the case.
Mhm.
Okay, let's just say that that is the case. Realizing it may not be, and if the variables change, well, then the thinking has to change. But let's say right at this point, we're 400,000 down. 3 ways to make it up. Okay. 1 cent will cut that, how much? 207,000, did I see that figure somewhere?
That's what was on the.
1 cent brings in about, on this new rate, how much 1 cent bring
Should be
in?
more than that, around 260.
Okay,
Well, what he's basing it on is, you know, we had those cuts of $72,000, and then that's what he's basing it on.
oh, okay, so it's actually then about 270,000. Okay, so 1 cent.
1
will-
cent will generate that. yes.
1 cent's gonna bring in about 270,000. Okay, now we're down 130,000. Correct? You agree with that, Jim?
Yes, sir, I sure do.
Okay, so now we're down 130,000. That's with 2 cent employee raise.
Yes, 2%, yes.
2%, okay. $130,000. Okay. What do you estimate, and I know it's an estimate, that the ending contingency balance will be at the end of the 2015 budget year?
That's what we have to predict.
It's right here, it's 3.327.
Yeah, but that is the end of 2000 and,
14.
yeah.
No,
And
no,
then
no, and then
it
end of
doesn't-
14 is 3.817.
It doesn't take in consideration anything for this year, and so that's what he's asking.
Okay,
You got it on here, though.
Well, I mean, that's up until the,
based upon
Okay.
every department spending every penny of their budget,
mhm.
then what do you estimate the ending contingency balance will be?
Well, what you're seeing here is the beginning of the year, and so then we need to look at what would to happen throughout this year to reduce that amount.
But you've been including it along the way, the purchase of the property,
Mhm.
the retainer fee that went to the DA's office, the 25,000 for the annex building, you have all those in here, and then the 391 that was, committed for the, this current budget.
Okay,
So it should be 3.327.
okay.
3.327,
Just say 3.3.
okay, 3.3. Okay. So if we make no further budget cuts, then we would have to take $130,000 out of contingency to do everything we've talked about, I mean, where we are today, with a 2% raise.
But we don't know if we're gonna have to take from contingency on any other fees on the annex. And I think that has to be a priority. And then we still can't afford to fix roads.
Well, and we're fixing to have some rent. I'm gonna bring that up Monday. We're gonna have to move people, whatever it costs to move them and rent. So might wanna drop that 3.3 down a little more.
With what you're figuring right there, you said 1 cent,
1 cent,
all right, we're at 56.
it'd be 57.
We gotta go to 57, so you're talking about going from 56 to 58.
No, I'm talking about going 56 to 57.
Well, we gotta go to 57 automatically right
Just to-
now
just to
anyway,
get
so
enough
we
in to
actually
pay
gonna have to go
bills.
to
Okay.
58
Actually,
based on.
57 and a half, cause it's .5769.
So,
We're already
going from,
almost to 50.
on your figures, going from 56 to 58.
That's a
He
two.
wasn't,
that's
he
a-
was going to 57 only.
I was going,
No, that's not gonna be enough.
well, they show the 57, she shows the 57 cents.
Is gonna be the effective.
Point
Okay.
five
We're at
seven.
569.
I'm talking about Angela's figures.
1 cent will generate $285,251.87.
And that was gonna leave us with $207,000.
Because you had a $77,000
But we're working off
increase
of a
in tax.
56 cent where it should be 57.
But she figured that here,
On the corner.
there, 57.
But I'm working off her calculations of
But our
what
tax rate right now is 56.
Right.
56. And
Leaving
she's
it over
saying
here.
that if it goes to 57, that we're going to, based upon where we were this morning, we're gonna have $207,000 additional income. Forget her effective tax rate. 1 cent will bring in,
285.
yeah, 285. Okay, and so there's $130,000. And we're going to have some expenses with annex and stuff. You know, I don't know how much they are. 100,000, rent and stuff like that.
I hope it's less, but that'd be worst case.
Something that we did not include in this budget, and we're gonna have for a full year next year is our utility cost on every building that we pay. I don't know how much they are, but they're a lot of money.
I can
and
tell you
we-
what it was through March, it was a
What?
lot. Well, not right this second, but it was a lot.
On
About
every building the county has.
Yes, sir. Didn't we have that, don't we? Yeah.
Does anybody know what the figure is? $500,000?
Yeah, I think it was 4 something.
Okay, well, if it's
Does that sound right?
through, first half,
You were at that meeting, do you remember how much it was for the utilities? That's water and
Yeah.
sewer and electricity?
Well-
Where at?
All the courthouse,
Yeah.
annex, and all the satellite offices, every building we have.
electricity should be the only one that we'd probably get
Like
on.
it might have been 450 something.
Was that for 6 months?
Yes, sir. So you might as well say $1 million.
So $1 million a year. Our utility bills should drop at least $100,000 next year.
Well, good, I need that back in my road and bridge fund.
And if we get this annex, let's say we get the annex built by, so we have 6 months in this new budget year. Right now, we're paying a tremendous utility bill over there.
Yes, sir.
That's gonna go way down. So I can see that we could have a $200,000 savings in utilities next year, which we're leaving in the budget.
We deducted that.
We've already
Where-
taken out 200,000?
No, we deducted whatever it was you and Wayne worked out for, utilities. In the last meeting we had, we deducted that out. You said we were gonna make a good savings,
But
by
did
getting out there, and we didn't put it in there.
we didn't put it in,
Uh.
it's not in her figures. Is it in your figures?
I don't remember that.
Under building maintenance, under
I
utilities?
watched the video.
Oh,
We
you,
did.
okay, then it's not in the figures right now?
What budget did we take it out of?
What'd we do last time? What was our
Health
last
department?
budget? Huh?
It wasn't the health department, was it?
Maintenance?
Maintenance, courthouse maintenance.
But you're saying we've already taken out a couple
I
hundred
think we
thousand
took out
dollars?
about, no, it was like.
No, it was 25,
Like 20,000 or something.
25. It
20,000,
wasn't
oh,
$200,000.
And I
But
don't
it
say
was
savings.
based on the,
Oh, okay. But it-
utilities from
it-
over there, the savings that we would have by getting out of there.
Getting out of this building over here?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, in that one building.
Right.
But that didn't include the courthouse?
No,
Yeah.
no.
Okay, the jail and all that stuff there. That amount of money that we'll save in utilities should way offset any expenses associated with getting in that annex over there.
Well, but my argument has been and will continue to be, even if we end up projected better, we start restoring our budgets that we've cut. That has to be a priority, in my opinion. I got 45% of the county roads in my precinct, and the budget I have will not cover it. And it would be good, instead of obligating money that we haven't made yet, is at the end of the year to have that surplus to decide how we're gonna divvy it up.
I'm sorry, I didn't know
you're
you're
fine, in my
Highway
opinion.
office, 201.
Oh, okay, so 100,000.
So it would be good, it'd be good this time next year to say, you know what, guys, we've saved 200,000. And then instead of trying to figure out how to raise a tax rate or whatever, that we could say, okay, well, this is what we can do with that 200,000, instead of the way we've been doing it. We're trying to obligate savings, and since I've been on the board, the first 4 years, what I was told, it's gonna get better, it's gonna get better, it's gonna get better, but every year it hasn't gotten better. And so, experience shows we can't spend money the way we've spent money before in the past. That's just, and that's where I'm at. I'd rather at the end of the year go, man, you know what, we've done a great job this year in saving money. We're gonna be able to give a 3% raise. Or we're gonna be able to restore money we've taken from commissioners. Nubbin said he needs money back, I need money back, Ken needs money, Alvin needs money. I think that has to be a priority. If we're saying we can't do the job with what we've got, then at some point in time, we stop. Why cut your heart out because you got a good brain? If you can't get blood to your heart, it doesn't matter how smart you are. And that's my point. If we know we've got to have revenue to just to be able to function and do the minimum, because you're talking about minimum 4 miles of road a year. That's minimum. But wouldn't it be good if you do 5?
Well, I won't do 2.
Right.
But I see nothing in the future. I see nothing in Hardin County's future right now unless, like this BP drilling project up yonder, it would have to be something like oil and gas.
Right.
That comes in and gives us a big boost. We're not suddenly gonna get a refinery in Hardin County.
Right.
So we're basically where we are.
Although there is a talk of expanding.
That's good.
Not there yet.
Yeah. But that's where you get, pipelines, something associated with oil and gas that will give you that quick boost. That's what gave it to us years ago in the 3D seismic. That's what built this contingency fund. It came from oil and gas, basically.
And that's what's taking it away.
And that's what's taking it away. And I do agree that, this county has run austere budgets. It will continue to have to. But the reverse side of that coin is, okay, knowing the future that this county faces, are you going to balance the budget on the back of the employees from now on?
I don't think 1 year from now on.
Well, you'll never make it up.
Well, I'll never be able to make up the 100,000 I lost last year, the 100,000 I'm gonna lose this year. And if it remains at 100,000, then at the end of 4 years, it's 400,000.
And
I won't make that up.
And I understand that. But I had rather cut expenses than I had. We're talking about $130,000. And I'd rather find a way to cut $130,000 than I had to omit an employee.
We think we're talking about 130,000. But we're not, we don't know.
We took a lunch break, could we get some rough figures together and see where we are?
Not today.
That's the
Please.
best idea we've had today.
That's the best idea. I
All
agree
about
with,
lunch break.
I agree with what Mr. Pelt's saying. I've always been for our employees getting raises, and I will be again this year. In order to keep quality employees, I think you need to compensate them. And I agree with what Chris is saying. I mean, everybody has got the ideas, it's just the matter of how we're gonna fund that. Where is the money gonna come from? And it goes back to what I've said since I've been on the court, whenever I vote against any type of, increases or anything, before I personally can vote for a tax rate increase, I'm gonna make sure that we've got all the fat out of these budgets, and all the fat is not out of these budgets. We just have a different of opinion on it.
Well, all the way through, I've asked, does anybody have any more comments or
I'm not
discussion?
talking
So
about,
We need to,
I'm talking about things we've done in the past,
Okay.
that's in there now that nobody's ever brought up, but I'm just saying, before I personally, it's gonna take a tax rate increase. And before I personally can vote for a tax rate increase, something that we haven't brought up that is a very, very touchy situation is going to a unit road and bridge system. That would save the county a lot of money.
I've advocated for years.
Yeah.
I have advocated that.
There's negative points to
That this
that,
county,
but,
we do not need 5 motor graders.
yeah.
We do not need a lot of stuff if we had a unit system.
But that's why people are falling out of the unit systems left and right. They're losing more unit systems in the state than they're gaining. when they started the unit systems back when, a lot of people jumped on board. And the last year, they've lost 6 unit systems in Texas because they failed. I've talked to commissioners, we talked to a Polk County commissioner. They brought in and paid, people to give them an, overall, deal on whether they should go to the unit system, and was told not to do it, and they didn't do it. It's not, a unit system's not gonna save us any money because we're too spread
The
out.
unit system will save you money.
Yeah, but then you're gonna destroy your infrastructure because it's not gonna be able to keep up. You can't keep up in this big of a county with as many roads and miles as y'all say with a unit system. It's not
It
viable.
certainly takes the authority away from the commissioner.
Yes.
But it
And
also,
Negatives of it.
And that is the main thing right there.
But
on the unit
also-
system.
the unit system will work in a rural county out in West Texas where you don't have a whole lot of, maintenance or upkeep. But I've talked to the people in the bigger counties, including counties our size, when they've gone to the unit system, somebody calls in and says, hey, my ditch is stopped up. Hey, I've got a pothole. Well, we'll put you on the list. A month later, they may get to that pothole. It's not like it is now with us. I don't think a unit system, and this is from my talking to different people, will work in this county. We're just too big. We're too big of a county. We're too spread out. Yeah, would it save money? Yeah. But what would you do to the infrastructure of this county? Would you be able to maintain that infrastructure with a unit system? I don't think so.
Well, and then the other what-if scenario is, we know what an auditor who doesn't work with commissioner's court is able to do. What do you do with an engineer who gets it in for a commissioner?
And this, what Chris has said and what Alvin said is a drawback to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced they will save money. Now, you lose that personal touch the commissioner does with the voters.
Correct.
And especially in a lot of rural counties, that's the big drawback, is that you lose that personal touch. But as far as efficiency.
I'm not pushing that right now. I'm just saying that is an idea where if we are wanting to save money, we can look at. There's all kind of ways nobody wants to actually talk about that we could save money. I'm just giving you my personal opinion. Before I can vote for a tax rate increase that I think we should make cuts that we're not gonna make. So I'll vote against this budget and I'll vote against a tax rate increase. I can give you my opinion on what I think we need to do, but I'm just one vote, so.
Well, I mean, if we need to discuss cuts, then that's gonna require another session, which is good.
We've been having sessions.
But my point, I don't think commissioners can cut.
Right.
And so where are you gonna come up with that money? But commissioners can't cut. And I'd be adamantly against that. What other positions can you cut to get to that 200,000?
You could have voted against having a new district, assistant county attorney or a new district attorney investigator or, given, different little things add up to pretty good amounts of money over the last 3 years. So that's my opinion and you have yours, but there's ways.
Well, it boils down to, and I'm against a tax raise, always have been against a tax raise. But in the final analysis, you're gonna have to put this budget together.
Well, if the effective tax rate is increased from 55 to 57, what do we do?
Last year-
56 to 57.
Last year, the effective rate was 55, but we were at 56, correct? Or am I wrong?
I can't remember.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
I hear
This
you.
year, the effective tax rate is gonna be for what? 57, and we're at 56.
But we're assuming that the rolling stock was added in there last year. And we should have been at 57 probably.
Yes,
Well, or at least,
because
or at
see,
least
I
probably
checked it.
57.
Right.
I checked it, and when the appraisal district went on the new system, that rolling stock started showing up, and, Alex did not
What tax
catch it.
rates you want to.
Right.
And, so the last 2 years,
You just gotta
It
balance
was
the budget
in
from state
there.
law.
which we should have maybe been up to 57 last year.
Right. I agree.
So it's gotta go to 57 regardless, as far as if we
57
maintain.
57 will maintain the same as last year.
Would maintain same as last year.
And again, you know, I want every employee to get a raise. Somewhere the belt has to be tightened. We didn't do it last year.
Well, I thought that's what we were doing, is tightening the belt. I gave up $179,000 last year.
Yeah, but Ken, you gotta give it every year, because every year it's gonna cost you $200,000 to $300,000 to give a raise. And you're gonna have to cut $200,000 to $300,000 every year in order to give a raise every year. And the deal is, we've looked at how much we cut. You've gone back, done an analysis from 2008. So you could say commissioners have given their money to employee raises.
I fully agree with you, Chris.
Okay, but at some point, you can't do that anymore. I do not have enough money in material and supplies to maintain precinct 2. And I can't look at voters and say, I've got enough, you know, because they're not gonna look at me if I can't go overlay a road and go, well, I'm certainly glad that all your guys got a raise, but you know, I'd like a new road. And at some point in time, there's a balance. I disagreed with it last year, I disagree with it this year, but it's, I appreciate the open and honest discussion, but every year it's gonna cost the county that much money to give a raise. And at some point in time, you gotta tighten the belt. I don't think Orange County's giving a raise. Jasper County is reducing the amount of money they're paying on, employee benefits as far as like their spousal coverage. They were paying up to 100%, and they're taking about a 4-year step to get that to 0. And so other counties are tightening the belt in other places, and I think Hardin County, I mean, we've already made cuts. And I think Hardin County can do the same thing.
This is what we're talking about.
Right.
You know,
And again,
anybody has an idea needs to throw it out, because
do I like it?
we're trying to, you know, arrive at a place where we can.
You know, do I like it?
File a budget.
Absolutely, I don't like it. But when you look at building an annex, you still got the retirement unfunded liability. You got a lot of what ifs. I hadn't heard any talk about the elevator in the courthouse, but that may be a real issue. At some point in time, even after we build the annex, we gotta do something with the old hospital, either tear it down or whatever. That's gonna be a lot of money. And there's just a lot of things on the table in the future that we have to look at. That 300,000 is gonna be chicken change at the expenses we're looking at paying. And if we don't make the tough decision, I mean, I think we've gone 16 or 17 straight years of pay increases. And if you go 1 out of 18 years, I don't even think that's being austere. 1 out of 18 years.
Well, I still maintain that if you don't keep up with inflation, then what you're doing is you're balancing the budget on the backs of the employees.
Well, then you have to go up on a tax rate increase in order to do it, because you can't cut. You can't cut our budgets.
Alvin, how you feel on a 2% increase?
I think employees deserve a raise.
How about the
Well,
raise?
you got 3 votes here for a 2% salary increase this year, so,
Okay, where y'all gonna get the money from?
well, we can get it where that money tree where they got it last year when we added all these other people, so.
I'm open
Well,
to, hearing any input from the audience. If y'all have any suggestions, cause I'm open to hearing anything y'all have to say.
Well, are we, and I don't wanna,
I don't mean to put everybody on the spot, but
I'm giving you
open
time to
anything.
think.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, the effective tax rate is 57. Yeah, 57.69, but are we gonna go to 57 cents?
You have to,
I
just to
think
maintain.
I think we have to.
But that don't cover raises.
No.
You have to go
That's
to
gonna be
58
it.
to cover
Yeah,
raises.
You have to go to 58 to cover raises.
Wait a minute.
That's what I was trying to bring out a while ago. We're working off of 56,
And when we're,
Angela ran the figures,
right?
that with 57 cents, that we would have a $200,000 positive. Isn't that right? So I'm taking where she started off, $200,000 positive. And we do a $200,000 raise, that's $400,000.
we should have been at 57 last year instead of 56 to begin with.
Right.
That's a
Actually,
$200,000
the tax
policy.
rate should have been higher all along.
And if we'd have tightened our belt, you could restore commissioners' losses and give a raise this year.
Right.
And you'd be singing in the choir.
Okay, so there's 200,000 that we've got. That's a positive with 57 cents. You've got 200,000 positive. Okay. We had 70-something thousand prior cuts. And, you know, if we go with Alvin's deal, that wipes that out.
How much did you say?
But then the judge come in with 162,000.
We didn't have 200 in cuts, we had 70,
You had 77,000,
72,
72.
yes, sir. But then,
Before the sheriff.
But now, was that plugged in with the 700,000? I mean, with the 200,000?
Yes, because at one penny will generate $285,000, and so
Okay.
the 77,000 was deducted from that.
Okay, so when we start this session today,
But that 77,000 is your tax revenue loss, not your budget
not
cuts.
your budget cuts.
okay, how much budget cuts did we have?
70,000.
Okay, when we started today, we had $70,000 worth of
Without the sheriff's.
budget cuts,
Is the
With
sheriff taking a cut? We keep saying, okay.
and with this
Saying not
one,
taking
I
with
think
going to
he's got about a
57 cents,
$1,200 increase from last year to
going to
this year.
57 cents, we had a $200,000 positive.
Correct.
Was the $70,000 in that?
The cuts, no. That's
Okay,
just your
so-
revenue we're talking about.
That's just revenue we're
That's
talking
just
about.
revenue, tax
Okay,
revenue.
so we had $200,000 plus positive. Now, you had $70,000 worth of revenues, but I'm wiping that out if the court goes with Alvin's new budget, right?
More than that, yes, sir.
Okay. And then you presented us with and we've added a few other things along there.
Right. But Angela told us earlier that the health department's not factored into all this either, so you'd have to add that 110 back in.
What he cut out of Commissioner's Court, part of that was the health department match. And that's going into another place of the budget, so that's not a true savings.
So the 162 is not a true savings?
I don't think so.
Okay. How much of that, I want to say 50,000?
50.
Okay, so now we had 200, and we got 250,000. Okay. Now, if we do a raise, then we've got, say, $50,000 left. So, with where we are right now with a 2-cent raise, we're basically flat. Is that agreeable, that we're basically flat? I mean, you 10, 15, 20,000 here or there.
I'd wanna see it from the auditor.
Well, I want to see it in the auditor, because that's the only thing that nails it down. But what I'm saying, we gotta make some assumptions. If we're flat right now, we're flat with a 1-cent tax increase and the cuts that we have made, we're just about flat in this budget. Somewhere close. Now, if we add $100,000 in for annex miscellaneous expenses or expenses to get us over there, then
What about, Mr. Pelt, in your figures that you're figuring the percentage increase it's gonna cost to build the annex for certificates of obligation?
Well, I think if, let's start from a different perspective. Where does everybody feel about the effective tax rate? The effective tax rate we got today was .5769. Do we have a consensus from the court that that's where we should go on our tax rate?
Yes.
1.5 cents is what we're looking at.
okay, then
We have to.
All right,
then that's gonna bring in another $150,000.
right.
Okay, I can buy that.
So if we have that,
But
and if
do
we
have
do the
consensus
certificate
you
of
have?
obligation, we were told that the increase, the amount of increase in expenditures will be about 25,000 a year for the first 10 years till the jail's paid off. Then after that, the jail's paid off and that note goes up, but we lose the jail note.
And in fact, that note should be less than the jail note.
Yes, sir, because it's a less,
Yeah, because
Borrow's
you're
expensive,
talking about
yeah.
maybe, what are we talking about now on the annex, 1.75 million or something like that?
1.8, yes, sir.
1.8, and we're gonna be dropping off 2.5. So the 2 cents or whatever we had dedicated it actually should come down a little bit.
Yes, sir.
But the first 10 year, is it 10 years or 12 years?
10 is what,
Okay, the first 10 years, you're paying $25,000 a year, which,
from, right.
that's basically
That covers both, to pay both notes, we pay what we're paying now plus 25,000.
plus 25,000, yeah.
And then after the jail is paid off, then the note on the annex would increase.
Yeah.
But it still wouldn't be as much as we're paying now on the
No,
jail.
it'd be less than what we're paying now. Well, when she puts this together,
So I don't think we have to increase any more to cover that 25,000. We should be able to find that. And not even have to go to the money tree. We should be able to find that in our budget.
Per year.
Yes, sir.
And
But our
we're at
first,
56.9 right now.
but our first year and probably even our second year, we should be okay without, with sticking with our effective tax rate. And that got off way on another subject about the annex and certificates of obligation, but I mainly wanted to see where everybody stood on the tax rate. That gives us a little better understanding of where these other figures that you're
well, I think,
talking about.
I think that with an employee raise and going with the effective tax rate, that when she puts all that together, we should be about flat across the board.
If so, that would be great. But if not, if we gotta go into the contingency again to give raises, I'm against doing that. But
Well, I had rather,
I also learned that that's not gonna matter.
I had rather, let's,
Cause if we go into the contingency for $1,000 to do something on the annex, that's a one-time fee, and
Yeah.
that's what it's there for. But to keep going in there to give raises, we gotta stop doing that. We can't keep kicking
well,
that ball down the road.
see, I look at it in reverse, in order to keep from making cuts.
Yes, sir.
Because I maintain that you're not gonna be able to balance this budget.
But that doesn't make sense if you look at all the cuts we've taken in commissioners' budgets. That doesn't make sense. To say, I look to go in a contingency so we don't have to make cuts, we're both going in contingency and making cuts.
I maintain that if there's other cuts that can be made, we need to be talking about it.
I
And we need
think
to be
there's some
strongly
cuts
looking
that
at
can
it.
be made in this, you know, I still think there's cuts that can be made. I think we need to maintain that contingency. We need it for working capital, and we also need it for things that come up, like the annex. That is a contingency. You know, it's unanticipated. But I think right where we are now, that, you know, when you're talking about a budget of this nature, and I know any cuts, and I say this, as if this year, if with new construction and stuff, depending on what the oil and gas does, if we're in a better position next year, I think road and bridge should be the first thing restored.
But, you know, for instance, you know, just take in consideration, say you tighten the belt, you ended up with, say, 250,000 next year. And,
In the positive?
yeah, in the positive. And then we decided to take 500,000 out of contingency, all for the annex, and now we're only borrowing $1 million. I think that's a better alternative to the taxpayers with a certificate of obligation, is that you put everything forward you can, like on the certificate of obligation, and then you're borrowing less, and you're only looking at 1 year of tightening your belt. And you end up, and you actually, instead of saying, well, I think we're gonna have a surplus, and I wanna go in contingency so we're not having to make cuts, we actually get there and have money in hand, and then make the decision versus trying to make the decisions on money that's not come in yet.
Before I would take 500,000 out of contingency, I would go this 10-year route, $25,000 a year. And when the jail's paid off, then that annex would be paid off, because there'd be more than enough money in there to pay it off, and yet at a savings over what was paying on the jail. To take 500,000 out of the contingency, as I understand, you're talking about.
It was just a round number, but what I'm saying is, if we're truly looking at options, then the lower amount of debt the county carries is better for the taxpayer. If we're really stewards of this county's money, and we actually have a surplus next year, and we have a contingency, I can't think of one neighbor of mine who wouldn't appreciate me borrowing 1 million over 1.8 million in this economy. I can't think of one neighbor. And what I'm saying is, when we talk about looking at different angles and different options, those are real options. And the court may not wanna go there, as far as, we don't wanna give 500 or 750,000. And you know what, that'd be what we decide to do, but we can't pretend that that doesn't happen, or that's not even an option. I think it's a very good option. You know, there was a generation in this country that didn't spend money till they made it, and they carried very little debt, and if they bought a washer, they paid it off before they bought the dryer. But culture has changed, but that's not to say culture's better. And I think the minimum amount of debt that this court can indebt this county to and the taxpayer to will be better. But I'm only making that argument, and I'm not saying that's what I wanna do, I'm making that argument in that scenario to ask the court, 1 out of 17 or 18 years, to tighten their belt. It's not ugly, not mean, or it's very responsible. I've talked to judges that I'm friends with, and other commissioners, and they average about every 3rd or 4th year giving pay raises to their employees. And, I don't think it's
they're
out of the
treating their
box.
employees right if they give a raise.
Well, they may not, but at the end of the day, it's not like we're gonna sell a product at 20% over what we paid for it and we're gonna make a profit. We're paying with ad valorem taxes, and it is what it is. You can't go out and create a new product or bring a new product into your inventory and increase the amount of money the county can make. It is what it is, and then we have to make those difficult decisions, and we've refused to make them.
No, I don't agree with that, Chris. I think this court has made very difficult decisions, and I think that Hardin County, with its budget, has a very low bond indebtedness.
But we can't fix our roads. We said that earlier, we can't fix our roads.
Well,
We
there
have
may be a
road-
time in the future, we may wanna do a bond to fix roads. They do bonds to fix roads.
Right, but for me, in my way of thinking, if you keep cutting and you can't even take care of what you got, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, there's no way, in order to take care of what we got in the way that we need to take care, I don't know how much it'd take to add the tax rate. You're talking about mega bucks. You know, you and I together got $15 million. We know we're not fixing to, we're not fixing to, raise a tax rate to handle that.
I just think we have a lot of things to look at, and it's not like this court inherited gravy train.
No, this court, as I explained prior, this court's in the condition it's in because of actions on the part of the comptroller's department, action on the part of the Federal Reserve.
Right, but we still gotta make our decision.
And we're making our decision.
If my wife runs over a stump with the lawnmower, I still gotta fix it.
And that's what we're doing here. It's just, you know, we just got different philosophies about how we do it. And I just maintain that we don't do it on the back of the employees. There are other places in this county that we spend money, and
I wanna go on record to say that my intention is not to balance it on the back of the employees. I've stated that I want to give the employees a raise. We just gotta come up with the money. And so I'm not trying to create a burden on the employees.
well, it's just like we gotta come up with money for the road and bridge, we gotta come up with money for the sheriff's department. But this tax burden, and what I think sometimes that we fail to realize is that the tax burden is paid by 100% of the citizens. Road and bridge serves about probably 40% of the citizens, maybe 30% of the citizens. The sheriff's department, now I know they cooperate with cities and stuff, but the sheriff's department services about
37,000 people
37,000 people.
out of the 56.
Okay, so that's about what, 50% of the, okay. Where the road and bridge service is less than that, because if a person lives on a state road, a private road, we don't service them. In my precinct, which covers 52% of the county, Chris has most of the more roads, but I figure that the road and bridge budget in my precinct covers about 25% of the people in my precinct. And so all of this has to be factored in. But when we talk about salaries, we're talking about employees that serve 100% of this county. And these are tough decisions. And, you know, but I think this court over the years has made some tough decisions. I think one of the tough decisions started this contingency fund was 18 years ago when we had a change on this court and we sold that landfill and got out of the landfill business that was costing the county about $300,000 a year, and we gained $1.5 million or so to start this contingency fund. Hardin County had no contingency fund when I came on the court, and they were running about a $250,000 deficit. The jail commission was threatening to take over the jail, and the comptroller's office was threatening to make this court take out a $2 million policy to ensure that we could close the landfill. We made tough decisions. We made unpopular decisions. And we started this county on a sound financial basis. And we remodeled a juvenile facility out of cash. We did a lot of things out of cash when we were getting all this oil and gas money. Plus, we built the contingency fund to over $5 million. But what oil and gas gave us, oil and gas started taking away. But there are very few counties our size that have a $3 million contingency fund like we do today. And I'm proud that this court is dedicated to keeping a contingency fund because there are people, there are taxpayers. There was a member on this court that believed we should have zero contingency fund. That you should not save anything, but give it back to the taxpayers. But everybody that I've talked to that's business people and know anything about finances realize that you need some savings, just like a person needs some savings, a business needs some savings, a county needs some savings. And I think we all want to protect the contingency fund. But I think you have to have many competing needs that a county and a commissioner's court has to face. And I'm proud that this court over the years has made those decisions and had very frank discussions, but has managed the public's money well, and I think that's what we're doing here today.
Right. I appreciate the discussion.
Where are we, Judge?
Just listening.
We're not at lunch.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Do we need to take a break for lunch and come back and talk about anything further, or
I
do we
don't
need to
know.
wait
Do
until we
we?
have this figured?
Chris?
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything. We need to see some hard figures. I would like to see them by Monday.
Do we want to have another meeting Monday, or just let her present them to us at Commissioner's Court?
I would like to have a meeting so we can get on into some hard
We-
discussion.
Or
we do
Tuesday
have time. I
morning.
was thinking today was Friday. We have time to post a workshop for Monday morning. Y'all want to meet Monday morning before Commissioner's Court?
Or
Or Monday afternoon?
Or I'd prefer to meet afternoon so we're not limited by time.
I'm available till, of course, I can leave and y'all can keep going.
Well, if we can get rid of you, we might be able to solve it.
That's true. If that's the case, I'll go eat lunch right now and y'all keep going.
So you've not decided on a raise until you see the amounts on Monday, is that or do you want to put 2% in?
I'd like to put 2% in personally, but that's,
Well,
I mean, you put it with and without it.
based on the consensus, there's 3 members of the court that want to give a 2% raise no matter what.
Judge, what about just immediately right after court?
That's what we're gonna need to do, because
And
Monday
that way, you
afternoon,
know,
I'm not available at all.
That afternoon?
I'm not available that afternoon, but I'm available right after court.
Yeah. And, you know, if we go through lunch, we'll just take it to late lunch or something.
We can get, maybe Laura buy us lunch.
Because now,
She said not if she don't get a raise though.
okay, so if we kind of finalize the budget Monday,
Yes, sir.
then we're gonna have to have a special meeting in order to accept it, the
Okay.
proposed budget, is that right?
Yes, sir, and I propose to do that at 1:30 on Wednesday.
Okay.
Is everybody still good with that? We're definitely gonna meet at 1:30 on Wednesday, and we'll meet after Commissioner's Court Monday
Okay.
morning. Will that give you enough time?
And you want 2% in the, 2% raise in the figures?
And then,
Who
And then what-
wants to plug in a 2% raise into the proposed budget?
I would like to look at it,
Okay.
but what you said a while ago was not the case. I'm not absolutely saying regardless of 2% raise, I wanna look at that and a none, a zero.
look at
See where
everything
we're at.
all over.
So
Well, when she puts all her figures together,
you should be able to give an option. Here it is with 0.
well, I mean, anything in there, we can take out
Yeah.
or put more in, whatever we wanna do. You know, I mean, it's just, all she's doing is fixing up some figures. The proposed budget won't be voted on until
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
And so the increase in the departments, their step raises, is that step raise plus any increase on salary, like 2%? So, okay.
That's just my thought, you know, I mean, otherwise,
Yeah, you'd be negating.
In which case, I might
you'd be
use
negating.
it, cause I gotta figure out if I got steps.
Did anybody have anything they wanted to say?
I was hoping I did.
All right,
sure?
any members of the
They
court have
probably
anything
thoroughly
further before we?
I move with adjourn.
I second.
Stand adjourned. No, we're going to your place.
I am going to Houston, so if you need anything, I'll be on the cell.
All right.
Chris, you
See you
headed to the
Monday. Be
hospital?
careful.
Headed to